All right, let's dive into one of the most influential books ever written, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm going to walk you through his core ideas, breaking down these timeless principles into a guide you can actually use. Seriously, the stuff in here has been changing lives for almost a century, and you're about to see why.
Carnegie kicks things off with this singer. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. And this isn't just a clever one-liner, right? It gets at a really fundamental truth about us. Our knee-jerk reaction when things go wrong is so often to blame, to point fingers. But think about it. Does it ever really work? No, it's totally counterproductive. Getting a handle on this one idea is the first, and maybe the most important step towards changing how you deal with, well, everyone. So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll get into Carnegie's core principles. This is all about getting your own mindset right. Then we'll cover the tactics for making people like you. And finally, we'll dive into the really good stuff, winning people to your way of thinking.
Okay, let's get into our first section, Carnegie's core principles, the foundation of it all. See, before you can even think about influencing anyone else, you've got to work on yourself first. This is all about making a shift from just reacting to what happens to acting with real intention. And it starts with breaking one of our worst habits. So, principle number 1 is a big one. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Carnegie says criticism is basically futile. And why is that? Because it never inspires someone to change. It just instantly puts them on the defensive. It's an attack on their pride, on their ego, and all it does is create resentment that can stick around for years. So what's the alternative? Try to understand. When you genuinely try to figure out why someone did what they did, that's where the magic happens. It opens you up to sympathy and kindness, and it's actually productive because it starts a real conversation instead of just building up a wall between you.
So if we stop criticizing, what do we do instead? Well, this quote right here holds the key. Carnegie says the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. Notice he doesn't say want or desire, he says craving. It's a fundamental need, right up there with food and water. I mean, think about social media today. What are all those likes and follows? It's just a modern-day version of this exact same craving. So when you can genuinely satisfy that craving for someone, you forge this incredibly powerful positive bond.
Now, we need to be really clear on what sincere appreciation is. As you can see, it is not flattery. Let's be real, we can all smell fake flattery from a mile away, can't we? It feels cheap and insincere. Real appreciation, on the other hand, is specific, it's honest, and it comes from a genuine place. So instead of a lazy, hey, good job, try something like, I was so impressed with how you handled that angry client yesterday. You stayed so calm and found a solution that made everyone happy. See the difference? That specificity proves you are actually paying attention, and it makes your praise mean something.
This third principle is a total game changer. Carnegie says, first, arouse in the other person an eager want. This is about a massive shift in your perspective. You have to stop thinking about what you want and start focusing completely on what they want. This is the absolute secret sauce of influence. If you can frame your idea, your request, whatever it is, in a way that shows them how it solves their problem or gets them something they want, well, they'll be eager to help. You're not trying to push them anymore. You're inviting them to get something they already desire.
So here's how you actually do that. It's a simple little language hack that has a huge impact. You just shift from saying I want to saying you'll benefit from. For example, instead of saying I want you to finish this report by Friday, you reframe it around their benefit. Something like, hey, if we can get this report wrapped up by Friday, you'll go into the weekend totally free and clear to focus on that new project you're excited to start. You're showing them what's in it for them, and that makes them want to do it. Okay, so we've laid the groundwork, right? We've done the internal work. Don't criticize, give real appreciation, and always think from the other person's perspective. But the big question is, how do we take this mindset and actually use it to build better connections in the real world? Well, that's what we're getting into next. All right, section 2, making people like you, the art of connection. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts, the practical, everyday things you can start doing immediately to build rapport and, just make people genuinely glad you're around. This is how you turn strangers into friends. This quote just nails it. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Just let that sink in for a second. 2 months versus 2 years. So many of us spend all our energy trying to be interesting, telling our best stories, sharing our opinions, showing off a little. But Carnegie says that's completely backward. The real secret is to just be interested, genuinely curious.
When you shift the spotlight off yourself and onto them, it's like a magnet. Okay, here's a technique that is so simple, but so powerful. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Seriously, think about it. When someone you just met actually remembers and uses your name in a conversation, how does it make you feel? You feel seen. You feel respected. It's a tiny little thing that sends a huge message. You matter. Forgetting a name, on the other hand, feels like a small rejection. Honestly, getting good at this is a social superpower.
So what if you're one of those people who says, I'm just terrible with names? Well, here's a 4-step plan to fix that. First, as soon as you're introduced, repeat their name. Hi, Sarah. It's great to meet you. That helps lock it in. Second, associate the name with something about them. Maybe Sarah has bright silver earrings. As for Sarah, S for silver. Third, try to use their name once or twice naturally in the conversation. And fourth, if you really want to remember, write it down later. It sounds like a lot, but it works.
So another huge part of being interested is becoming a truly active listener. And this is way more than just waiting for your turn to talk. It means giving your full attention. Put the phone down, look them in the eye. It means you have to fight that urge to interrupt with your own story. You also want to ask open-ended questions. Don't ask, did you have a good vacation? Ask, what was the best part of your vacation? It invites a story, not a one-word answer. And finally, paraphrase what they said. So it sounds like the flight was a nightmare, but the beach made it all worth it. That shows you're not just hearing the words, you're actually understanding them.
It all boils down to this one powerful idea. A sure way to people's hearts is to let them know you recognize their importance, and to do it sincerely. You see, when you get genuinely interested in people, when you remember their name, when you listen like they're the only person in the room, you're sending one very clear message. You are important. That feeling is the bedrock of any real human connection.
So, you're building these great connections. People like being around you. But life isn't always smooth sailing, right? You're going to disagree with people. And this is where we level up. How do you actually influence someone's thinking or persuade them without starting a fight and ruining all that goodwill you just built? This question leads us right into our final and most advanced section.
Let's get into Carnegie's most powerful techniques for winning people to your way of thinking. Now, I want to be super clear about something here. This is not about trickery or manipulation. This is about effective, empathetic leadership, persuading people in a way that feels like a collaboration, not a confrontation. Carnegie's view on arguments is pretty radical. You can't win an argument. You can't, because if you lose it, you lose it. And if you win it, you lose it. At first, that sounds a little confusing. How can you lose even if you win? Well, think about it. Sure, you might win the point with your brilliant logic and facts. But in the process, you've probably made the other person feel foolish. You've hurt their pride. So you won the battle of wits, but you completely lost the relationship and any chance of their cooperation. The only way to truly win an argument, he says, is to avoid it in the first place. So, if you can't argue, what do you do when you disagree? You just have to change your approach. Instead of a direct attack like, you're wrong, which is like slamming a door in their face, you try a softer entry. Something like, that's an interesting point. I was seeing it a little differently. Can we explore it? Or, I totally see why you'd think that. Let me share another perspective. You're showing respect for their opinion even as you're about to challenge it. It turns a potential fight into a mutual exploration. Here's another incredibly powerful persuasion tool. Dramatize your ideas. Basically, show, don't just tell. Nobody gets excited about a spreadsheet, right? Facts and figures are boring. But people remember a story, a vivid picture. Instead of saying, a new software will save the company money, you could say, this software will save us enough money to hire 2 new people for your team. You're not just stating a fact, you're painting a picture of what that fact means. You have to make your ideas come alive.
And finally, here are 3 high-level tactics for inspiring action in others. First, appeal to their nobler motives. People want to see themselves as fair, honest, and good, so frame your request around those values. Second, frame tasks as challenges. Don't just give an order. Turn it into a game. Instead of saying, we need to hit our sales numbers, try saying, I bet we can't beat last month's record. It taps into our natural desire to compete and win. And third, praise even the slightest improvement. When you see someone making progress, call it out. It fuels their motivation and makes them want to keep improving to earn more of that praise.
So, as we start to wrap this up, I want you to really think about this question. Who could you connect with differently tomorrow? Just pick one person, a coworker, your partner, a family member, and pick one single principle we talked about today. Just one.
whether it's avoiding criticism, using their name, or asking better questions. How could you use that one small change to make your very next interaction with them totally different?
Honestly, we've only just scratched the surface of what's in this book. It's packed with so many amazing stories and detailed examples that really bring these ideas to life. If you're serious about mastering the art of human connection, I can't recommend it enough. If you want to dive deeper, I've left a link to the book for you in the description. Thanks so much for joining me.